So, we're studying lesson 14, Sunday's lesson, the very last lesson after 6 months of studying biblical stewardship. And the title is very relevant, our last opportunity, and it's on the last Sabbath of the year. Let's see what Jesus says. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. We're nearing the end of Earth's history, and the different departments of God's work are to be carried forward with much more self-sacrifice than has yet been practiced. We've had to tighten our belts with inflation, with the way things are happening in the world, and everyone is trying to make a dollar stretch. But here we're told that we're going to have to sacrifice much more. We don't know what sacrifice is yet. And I remember that in lesson 12, we had that verse. It said, God is not the author of confusion. So we have a lot to learn. Often the agenda of rebellion and darkness and immorality is carried forward with more energy and zeal by its followers and proponents than it is the work of Christ. And so that's one thing we can learn from the enemy camp, is they do not rest. They push their agenda. But we work for the King, and we have a high calling, privilege. Let us work for him with all of our strength. So the title here says, Before Life Expires. What do we need to remember? It's appointed unto man once to die, and after that the judgment. We're all heading to that appointment with death and the judgment. It can happen at any age to anyone. So what do we need to remember? In Romans 12:11, we're told not to be slothful in business, but fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. As I looked at the original language, Greek, in this verse, it was interesting to look at the word slothful, which meant tardy or indolent or sloppy, not doing the best job on time and not with sufficient energy, just kind of getting it done. But to be fervent in spirit. Fervent means to boil, to be hot, to be passionate. So we need to work with passion for the Lord, with all of our strength, with a mental disposition that is full of energy and wisdom from above, and do it in order and correctly for God's glory as a willing slave unto the Lord. These are the things that are conveyed in this particular verse. God wants us to be passionate in his work, and it reminds me of a verse in Matthew 24 where Jesus is talking about the end times, and he says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So instead of doing the work with such a love and fervor and zeal and passion for God, they lose their love, they lose their fervor, their heat, that passion, because there's so much wickedness. But may we gather warmth from the coldness of others. May we recognize that prophecy is fulfilling and continue or begin to serve the Lord with all of our strength, all of our might, and all of our mind, and all of our body. And so in the note here, it talks about business people and people in general who do not keep their affairs in order. And sometimes life is snuffed out unexpectedly. Actually, usually that's what happens. And they may not be prepared, and their affairs are a mess. And then lawyers have to be hired, and accountants have to be hired to sort things out and to straighten up the business. And this just drains the estate and there's nothing for the family and nothing left for the cause of God. And we are counseled to arrange our property in such a manner that we can leave it at any time. This is something we need to consider. And there was a king in Israel named Hezekiah, and Isaiah came to him and had to tell him, set your house in order because you're going to die and not live. You know, we all are going to die unless we are alive until Jesus comes. And today is our opportunity before life expires to set things in order. It is God's will. So we can pray that prayer, Lord, help me to set my things in order because it's your will, and he will answer our prayers. And then we do our work, not slothfully, not with indolence or tardiness, but with fervor. Do the work, straighten things out, serving the Lord, and he will bless. He will bless because it's his will. God bless you today.